are companions on the journey.
Welcome to Our Walk Together. This is the place where we have a chance to listen and to learn from each other as we walk. My name is Paul Long, and I will be your host, but also a fellow traveler. I'm glad you're able to join me today as a companion on our walk together.
We are companions on the journey, breaking bread and sharing life, and in the love we bear is the hope we share. For we believe in the love of our God. We believe in the love of our God.
Hello, welcome to Our Walk Together. On today's show, we'll walk for a while with Mary Stronach. Mary is the Vice General Minister of the Secular Franciscan Order. Mary lives and has lived the Secular Franciscan rule for many years. She and her husband Bob live in Utica, New York. I'm happy to have Mary Stronach walking with us today.
So welcome, Mary. Glad to have you here.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor to be with you and to be able to share the gift of the Secular Franciscan Order to all our community, wherever they may be.
Great.
So let's go for it, shall we?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's start. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, other than what I introduced as, like I said, there was 4 pages of stuff here. A lot of it I cut out because there's not time to read it all. But why don't you tell us about you?
So I've been married to Bob for 51 years, which is amazing since I'm only 29. At least that's what I tell. That's what I tell my grandchildren. We have 5 children and we have 9 grandchildren. I want to share a little bit about how I started in the Secular Franciscan Order, because I think it says a lot about the importance of family. And that's one of the things that we as an order believe strongly, that family is at the center along with God. So about the year 2000, my husband came to me and he said, Mary, I found some information on this order. It's called the Secular Franciscan Order, and I want to learn more about it. It's about lay people living in the world like us. And I want to learn more about it, and I want to see if maybe this is something we might be able to do. And I said to him, are you crazy? Look, I'm working a full-time job. I teach full-time. I taught at the time at the high school level. I teach full-time. I've got 5 kids. I've got a mother I have to take care of. I've got an aunt I have to take care of. No way. Absolutely not. So he said, oh, look, I'm going to go and see what it's all about. So he goes once, he comes back and he says, now, Mary, this is a journey I think we should make together. I said, what do you mean? Again, I don't have time, Bob. He said, we do a lot of things apart. This is a spiritual journey. Don't you think that this is something that we should look at and let the Holy Spirit guide us to it? Well, he guilted me. What can I do, right? So off we go to the meetings, and we got professed in 2003. 1 week after we are professed, we are asked to go to the celebration of the 25th anniversary of what we call the New Rule, the rule which was established for the Secular Franciscans in 1978. And so we go off 4 hours to St. Bonaventure down in the southern tier. Mm-hmm. And one of the mornings we're sitting at a breakfast table, and there is a man sitting next to us. His name was Bill Wicks. And he asked us a little bit about who we all were and what we did. And then Bob was in PR and in communications. I help him with the communications effort. And I'm also a full-time teacher. And Bill, we later found out, was the national minister.
Oh, okay.
And he said, well, we need someone to help us with public relations at the national level. Would the 2 of you be interested? We've only been professed a week. And we said, well, we're looking for a ministry. We had told them that before, that we were looking for a special ministry, because as secular Franciscans, we have to find ministries, somewhere where we can serve the church or the order. So we said to him, well, yeah, we'll think about it, right? And so we went home and we said, yeah, right. We're only here a week, as we talked about before, Paul, very young in the order, knowing literally very little. And so we said, no, we're not going to send him our resume. So about 2 weeks later, we get an email from Bill asking us to send the resume. And I talked about it, said, no, we're just not right for this. Another week later, we got another email saying, you haven't sent the resume yet. So we sat down and we said, well, maybe the Holy Spirit is saying something to us. Maybe we got to send the resume. So we sent the resume, and we were appointed national co-chairs for PR co-chairs for the Secular Franciscan Order in the United States.
Tell me, what is the history of Secular Franciscans? Who are they? What are they about? What is this Secular Franciscan thing?
Well, our Secular Franciscan Order is as old as the Franciscans. We have journeyed with St. Francis of Assisi since 1209. All right. And Francis, of course, started as when Jesus told him at the foot of the San Damiano cross, Francis, rebuild my church. And Francis at that time, he was searching. He was trying to find where he belonged. And so he had in the past, before then, he had gone to war. He had suffered the scars of war, and getting back into society has been very difficult for him. And so he was praying about it. And so when Jesus told him in a little ruined chapel, physically corrupted chapel, he heard Jesus say, rebuild my church. So he started begging for stones, and he started rebuilding physically the church. Well, come to find out that wasn't quite what the Lord meant. And so sure enough, even while rebuilding the church, he got brothers, as he said, brothers to follow him. And so these brothers started to grow in numbers. And at one point, there were 11 of them, and they went to Rome, and Francis had written a rule, and they decided to come together as an order. Well, shortly after that, there was this man. We're not quite sure historically whether this is 100% correct, but we understand that there was this man, Lucasius, with his wife, Bonadonna. Lucasius was a businessman, very greedy with his money. He heard Francis. And so some people say that Francis, hearing what the man said to him, and the man said to him, I want to journey with you, but we're married. And so it's going to be difficult to travel around with you. So Francis must have thought a little bit about this. So he decided to put together the Brothers and Sisters of Penance. That's us. Those are our grandparents or ancestors and so on. So we started as the Brothers and Sisters of Penance. And then through the years, as we followed in the charism of St. Francis, in the joy of St. Francis, in the rule of St. Francis, modified for seculars, modified for people living in the world, our name changed. We became Third Order Franciscans. And then with going back to my history, 1978, well, I wasn't there in 1978, but our new rule began in 1978. That's when we became known as Secular Franciscans. So we journey today as Secular Franciscans.
So Secular Franciscans are actually a religious order. How does that fit into the life of the church and everything?
this is where people really do not understand. They first come and they think of the Secular Franciscans as a club, a group, an organization.
Right.
We are a religious order, which was accepted by the Pope. Pope Paul VI signed off on our order in 1978. All right. And the popes before that signed off on previous rules that were written. And we serve the Pope. We serve the church. We are right up there with the four obediences of the Franciscans. The first order Franciscans, who are the conventuals, the Capuchins, and the OFMs. The second order, who are the poor clerics. The third order, that's us, Secular Franciscans. And then our children are the third order regulars. And they sort of broke off from Secular Franciscans because they wanted to be priests and nuns. So there's third order regulars who are our babies.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we serve, and we are called the Franciscan family, and we answer directly to the Pope. We are a religious order.
Franciscans, the secular Franciscans, don't live in a community sort of situation or anything like that, right?
Secular Franciscans live in the world as singles, married, whatever their vocation in life is. We do have secular Franciscans, for example, who are diocesan priests. They can become secular Franciscans as well. But the majority of our order is married people and single people living in the world, trying to maintain a simple, authentic life, and serving the church and serving the order in a variety of ministries. And we have quite a variety. We have, for example, one secular Franciscan who decided to work with the lepers of Brazil. And so he started raising money and going down there on a regular basis. He brings some other Franciscans with him, secular Franciscans with him. And this ministry has grown. They have schools for children of lepers. They have hospitals for the lepers. They even have a seminary for those people who want to serve the lepers. So that's one example. Then we have schools, and then we have hospitals that are run by secular Franciscans around the world. And then we have secular Franciscans who serve in church organizations, church groups, social service, soup kitchens, teaching religion, serving the church in everything from being lectors at Mass, bringing communion to the sick, going to the elderly in nursing homes. So we have all sorts of ministries, both individual ministries, always wearing our habit, the Tau cross. I don't know if you can see it here very well.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we always wear this. This is our habit. The priests and nuns wear their habits. This one is ours. So if you see anyone wearing a Tau, there's a good chance that they may be secular Franciscans. Some people take it, they buy it, and they just think it's nice. So, they're not seculars, but yeah. So we serve in the community, and we have ministries all over the world.
Why? Maybe it's an impossible question to answer, but why does it seem like secular Franciscans are hidden or something like that?
I think part of that is one of the part of our charism is to be humble, and Francis always spoke about being humble and to be a minor. He called one of his he called his friars the friars minor, and the reason for that is that we, in our humility, we don't really maybe promote ourselves as much as we should. And unfortunately, no matter how hard and or loudly we shout it, we should all be wearing our Tau all the time, not just when we go to fraternity gatherings. But unfortunately, everybody does not. So we have work to do. We have a lot of work to do because we are the best kept secret, I think, of the Catholic Church. Unfortunately, we are, Paul, getting older. There was a time when our order was blossoming and exploding, but our order, there's one fraternity I can tell you about, National Fraternity. I just heard that in the year 2000 there were 20,000 members there. Today there are 1,400.
Wow.
Okay, why is that? The aging of our order and not being able to reach out, or not finding ways to reach out to replenish the supply of secular Franciscans. And I'll tell you this, it's not the Holy Spirit who's dropped the ball. Okay. I think the Holy Spirit has given as many vocations as we should have in the world. Unfortunately, we secular Franciscans, for whatever reason, are not present enough to the community as secular Franciscans. We have a lot of people in our community who work in schools. I mean, I worked in high school and I worked in college for years. Now, as soon as I became professed, I always wore my towel, and I'll tell you a story about that later. But the point is that we don't promote ourselves as secular Franciscans. We serve in the soup kitchens, we wear our towel, but we don't say, I'm a secular Franciscan, come visit. We don't do that enough. So we've dropped the ball. Holy Spirit has not. There are vocations out there. All right. As there are potential Christians and Catholics, and something is happening within the church that we are losing our members. We talked about that before we came on, and we have to do something. We have to be the hands and the feet of Christ and the Holy Spirit in the world. And that's what secular Franciscans should be prepared to do. Well, first and foremost, of course, our responsibility as secular Franciscans and as Catholics is to live the gospel, right? And that's what we have to do. And so we model living the gospel in the footsteps. Francis walked in the footsteps of Jesus Christ. We walk in the footsteps of Saint Francis, who was following Christ. So that's our first way of evangelizing. We live in the world, evangelizing by doing what we are supposed to be doing as good Catholics and good Christians. And we wear the towel, saying that we're doing this as secular Franciscans. And then we reach out to other people in that same way. And if people ask us, then we invite them, come and see. Come and see how we live the gospel, how we go from gospel to life and then life to gospel. That's our core. Christ is our core. And if people are searching, looking for, maybe they feel a certain emptiness, or maybe they're doing lots of service to the community, but they don't have that proper intention, to put Christ in the center. So we try to guide them through that if the Holy Spirit has given them a vocation.
So when a person decides that they have that interest, the come follow me, and gets up the courage, I suppose. I know for many people that's a hard thing to do the very first time. But when they come to their first meeting, I suppose is the best way to say it. But when they come and find that they feel a calling or an urging, what happens after that? What's the kind of, because I know that like most religious orders, there's a time of what they call postulancy, and then there's a novitiate, and then finally they take, final or and then permanent vows. What happens to someone going through a process as a secular Franciscan?
So, Paul, I've invited you to come and see. And so you're going to come and see, and you're going to observe maybe 3 months of visiting, asking questions. Possibly the formation director or someone on the team will approach you and say, let's go out for coffee. Let's talk a little bit more about what the Secular Franciscan Order is all about. Because when you profess 3 years, 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, when you profess, it is permanent. So we want to make sure that you feel you belong and that we feel that you belong to us.
Okay.
Because there are other charisms. And during this journey, there should be a time when you, someone who is searching, has to search not just the Secular Franciscan Order, but the other orders as well. The Carmelites, the Benedictines, so there are other possibilities out there of how you serve. And each one of us is going to serve because of our personality, because of the gifts that the Holy Spirit has given us. We're each going to serve in a different way. So you come in the first 3 months, you observe, you ask questions, have coffee, whatever. Then probably after about 3 months, you're going to say, you know what, I'm ready to get involved in a more formal way. So that's called inquiry. Okay. Inquiry may last anywhere from 6 months to 9 months. It all depends on how things go. We go further into looking at your faith process, Paul. So we'll ask you to tell us, as a Catholic, are you following the teachings of the Catholic Church? Do you accept the Apostles' Creed? Are there any areas where you challenge what the church teaches? Because all of these things are going to have to be evaluated by you and by us. That process of evaluation is called discernment. So you are going to pray about this. And if there are any things in your life that have to be modified or changed, for example, if you are a divorced Catholic and you are remarried, you may have to go through a process of asking the church for annulment of your first marriage, okay, before you can continue. Doesn't mean you cannot continue. It just means that it might take a little bit longer. Okay, so we talk about these expectations of the church and the expectations of the order. And some people will say, well, my parish priest accepts me who I am, or whatever, even though I am married and divorced and I'm going to church and all that. It's true and it's good. But now we're going one step further into being an order. And as an order, we have different expectations and different steps that we have to follow in order to make sure that we become the proper role models and the proper representatives of the church. So that's discernment. So we do this process of inquiry. Then from there, you become admitted to the order and you are given the tau cross, which now you will wear every day, hopefully. During this admission process, and it's called candidacy, in the United States, it's usually about 18 months. In other parts of the world is 1 year. In other parts, it might be 24 months. And it might vary according to how long it takes to go through the studying, the reviewing. So the individual meets with the fraternity team, with the formation team, and we talk about the history of the order, the rule. What does it mean to live the rule? Living the rule is a 24/7 process. It includes everything from how do we represent the rule when we are working? How do we live the rule in our family? How do we live the rule in peace, justice, and integrity of creation, which is part of our charism? So we are the peacemakers of the world. We have to find way, not just in world peace, but in peace in family and peace in community. That's our job. We become the leaders in that. So we try to work with our candidates to help them find where their ministry, where their role will be. At the end of that time comes that very important day called profession. And now during that whole time, anyone can uh, say, I'm going forward, or they can say, I need to step back a little bit. All right. It all depends on them and their process of discernment. But that day of profession comes, and it's a very special day. It's as important as getting married. It's as important as becoming a priest. They make promises. They make it's not like the vows of being a friar or a nun of poverty, chastity, and obedience. They say, I am going to follow the rule and all the 26 articles of the rule. And so that becomes that big day. They invite all their family members and friends. We celebrate. And then that moment where they say, yes, 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 I will go forward in this. Yes, I accept these responsibilities to serve the church and to serve the order.
Mary, I thank you so much for being with us today. I'm going to give you a chance. How do you want to close? What do you want to close with today?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that. I want you to look at something. See this lady here? Wait, let me get her. Hang on. Hang on a second. Whoops. I'll show you.
So the verbal people, you got to tell us who it is. Okay.
This is an icon. It's the icon of the Blessed Mother and Child. Now, we as Secular Franciscans are very, very dedicated to the Blessed Mother. Saint Francis was very dedicated to the Blessed Mother. This was a special gift that was given to me by the wife of the general minister. And they tell me that this mantle that she is wearing that is red, it represents humanity. And what this mantle is saying is the Blessed Mother is wrapping herself in humanity and wraps humanity with it. So I say, let us join with the Blessed Mother and wrap humanity around us and be wrapped by the Blessed Mother, who will guide us in whatever journey we choose individually.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, Mary, thank you so much. A, it's a privilege to be able to talk with you for a little while, and B, I think, the information that you're giving out to our listeners here, maybe will have some effect on maybe somebody out there is listening to us. And, as I said earlier, if only one person hears a message, that makes the whole thing worthwhile.
Absolutely.
So, once again, thanks, Mary. So much appreciate you being with us today and, to help us celebrate and learn about the Secular Franciscans.
And Paul, thank you for this special ministry. It is a wonderful way to reach out to the community. Feel free to call me anytime. I would love to talk about other topics as well.
Wonderful.
And I know the Holy Spirit is guiding you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary.
The music means that our time together is at an end for now. I thank you for walking with me today. It's been a great blessing. Please visit my website for information about this and other episodes of the podcast, as well as additional information on how to contact me. It can be found at ourwalktogether.com. Until we journey again, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord let his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look upon you kindly and give you his peace.